afternoon and welcome to this hearing on the House Committee on Higher Education and Technology. It is Wednesday, March 24th at 2:15 p.m. And to go over some of the House procedures, I'll ask Vice Chair DeCoit to cover that, please.
Thank you, Chair Takayama. In order to allow as many people to testify as possible, there will be a 2-minute time limit per testifier. Please keep yourself muted and your video off while waiting to testify and after your testimony is complete. The Zoom chat function will allow you to chat with the technical staff only. Please use the chat only for technical issues. If you are disconnected unexpectedly, you may attempt to rejoin the meeting. If disconnected while presenting testimony, you may be allowed to continue if time permits. Please note the House is not responsible for any bad internet connections on the testifier's end. In the event of a catastrophic network failure, it may be necessary to reschedule the hearing or schedule a meeting for decision-making. In that case, an appropriate notice will be posted. Please refrain from profanity or uncivil behavior. Such behavior may be grounds for removal from the hearing without the ability to rejoin. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. First up, we have Senate Bill 589 relating to the University of Hawaii Cancer Center and School of Medicine. And from the University of Hawaii, we have Provost Michael Bruno.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Michael Bruno, the Provost of the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Along with David Lassner, President of the University of Hawaii, we stand on our written testimony in opposition to Part 1 of SB 589 HD1. I do want to emphasize one point mentioned in our written testimony. We fully realize that our work to create and also expand synergies on the Kaka'ako campus is not yet complete. But it is clear to us that this ongoing effort to identify further synergies and efficiencies in all areas of research, education, clinical practice, and administration should extend beyond Kaka'ako to include other health sciences programs and academic units on the Manoa campus. This ongoing effort does not require the imposition of a specific structure that might then require further legislation if we are to continue to evolve. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Let's see, also from the University of Hawaii, we have Vice President Vasilis Sermos.
Good afternoon, Chair. I'm here to testify in support of Part 2 and Part 3 of the parts of the bill. Part 2 removes the sunset date for Act 38, and Part 3 removes also the sunset date for Act 39. Act 38 deals with the conflict of interest and how the university deals with those. And then Act 39 authorizes the university to enter into commercialization activities and innovation activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have from the UH Cancer Center, Bunhee Lim.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Eunhee Lim. I'm an associate professor at the Cancer Center. And I submitted a testimony on behalf of 54 individuals at the Cancer Center in opposition of Part 1. First, we'd like to thank you sincerely, House Committee HHH Chair Yamane and members for recognizing how damaging the Senate bill was for our National Cancer Institute designation to force our director to report to medical school dean. That would be 40 years compared to past 4 years, clear downgrading, and that would jeopardize NCI designation. Losing NCI designation would be devastating for the people of Hawaii, for cancer patients, cancer disparity research, and education. And NCI sets one entire criterion, evaluation criterion out of 6, all about director. whether director has a sole authority to make independent decision about finance, personnel, and space, as well as scientific direction. And with that authority, our current director received a perfect score in the latest review and noted as to have made a transformative impact on our cancer center. I couldn't have said it better. Please remove the forced administrative service integration part from the bill so he can continue to do so and improve efficiency and operation between the two units without jeopardizing NCI designation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have from the Hawaii Society of Clinical Oncology, Blake Oshiro. Not present, in opposition. Hawaii Technology Development Corporation, Len Higashi offering comments. Hawaiian Telephone offering comments. Let's see. Hawaiian Electric Industries, Creighton Liu in support. Cynthia Au, American Cancer Society, offering comments. Joe Ramos.
Aloha, Chair Takayama, Vice Chair Decoit, and committee members. I'm Joe Ramos. I'm providing personal testimony in opposition to SB 589 SD2 HD1. Specifically, I'm opposed only to Part 1 related to the Cancer Center Director Authority. I'm professor and deputy director at the UH Cancer Center, and I know the requirements of the NCI designation well. I'd like to thank Representative Yamani and the prior committee for making substantial positive amendments to the bill to reaffirm the current reporting structure of the UH Cancer Center Director solely to the provost. Unfortunately, there remain issues with this part. The reporting structure isn't the only concern. My foremost concern is that the language in the bill still endangers the renewal of the NCI designation by affecting the authority of the director. This is one of the most significant review criteria of the NCI renewal process, and it's a key differentiator that helps us rise above our competitors. The director currently has authority over administration, finances, hiring, tenure decisions, and space allocations within the Cancer Center. And this was essential to renewal. I quote from the NCI review at our last renewal, quote, "The center director is rated outstanding. Dr. Holcomb has complete authority over all resources at the center, which includes space, faculty recruitment, and appointment of members, and all Cancer Center revenue and financial matters. His direct control and authority over the cancer programs and shared resources, as well as clinical trials infrastructure, ensures that the center remains mission focused. As noted by NCI and in other testimony from faculty, center culture and finances have improved significantly in the last 5 years. Finally, thank you for the support of the legislature has provided the Cancer Center over the years. Your support continues to be a very important reason that we've been able to renew the NCI designation since obtaining it in 1996. And your support was rated as outstanding by the NCI reviewers in our last review as well. And thank you for this opportunity to testify in opposition to the remaining problematic parts of SB 589 SD2 HD1.
Thank you, Doctor. Let's see, we have a statement from Data House Consulting, Edward Ontai in support. Natasha Prechovic in support, and statements from 4 individuals in opposition: Adrian Frank, Chrissy Kawamoto, and Lynn Murakami Akatsuka. Is there anyone else on Zoom wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, Provost Bruno, I have a question. Dr. Bruno, the bill makes reference to the potential for improving operational efficiencies between JAPSOM and the Cancer Center. Would you agree that there are opportunities for reducing redundancies and other efficiencies?
Yes, I agree with that, Chair.
And if the committee was to make clear and reaffirm the clear line of authority of both you and the dean of the medical school to report directly to the provost, that is you, if you're given a clear legislative mandate to implement a plan for improving efficiencies at the Kaka'ako campus, would you be able to do so and report back to the 2023 legislature, for example?
Yes, Chair, that would, I think, both President Lassner and I would welcome that opportunity. We are already engaged in those discussions. We've made some progress, not enough, frankly, and the progress, as I mentioned in my earlier testimony, has to extend to the Manoa campus as well, so beyond Kaka'ako. But we are determined to seek those efficiencies and improvements.
Now, there is a measure in law that provides the UH some flexibility in procurement, which unfortunately expires in June of this year. How helpful would that be to have that measure extended in law?
In my view, that authority is essential to the operations of the university and our ability to be agile and responsive to events like we've just seen through the pandemic, and we hope the opportunities that lie ahead post-pandemic. So I think it's critical, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Bruno.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, let's move on to our next measure, which is Senate Bill 913, relating to sustainable electronics management. And first up, we have from the State of Hawaii Department of Education, Hillary Apanamaki. Not present, but in support. State Procurement Office, Bonnie Kahakui.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committee. Bonnie Kahakui for the State Procurement Office. We stand by your written testimony in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Department of Accounting and General Services, Controller Kurt Udaguro or Deputy Director Hidano.
Thank you, Chair Takayama, Vice Chair Decoit, and members of the committee. I'm Audrey Downo, Deputy for DAGS. We stand on our written testimony with concerns, and I'll be here for questions or answers. Thank you.
Thank you. From the State Attorney General's Office, Stella Cam.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. The Department of the Attorney General has submitted comments and concerns about the implementation as well as the enforcement of this new chapter. I'm available for questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you. Hawaiian Hope, Curtis Kropar.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Curtis Kropar. I am Executive Director for the nonprofit organization Hawaiian Hope. We are a technology nonprofit organization. Our specialty is the refurbishment of computers, and we've been doing this for 14 years now. We strongly support this bill because the intent of the bill is to take equipment that is currently being discarded and is actually being paid to be discarded, and to instead get that equipment into the hands of the people who need it. As the pandemic has pointed out very clearly, there are tens of thousands of people in the state that do not have access to computers. Under the current rules, the current law, the state of Hawaii and various departments pays wads of money every year to dispose of perfectly good working hardware. We are part of the collection events that take place at the schools and various agencies. And we, in our testimony, you can see how much equipment that has been collected at just some of the events that we attend. I had the chance to look at the testimony that from both the Attorney General's office and the SPO. And I would like to point out that several of their concerns, which are understandable, were in fact addressed in the earliest versions of the bill and the draft. As an example, one of the concerns they bring up is the removing of content inappropriate for 18 years or old or under. Through the process of refurbishing, it's basically a moot point because the hard drives are completely wiped out all information is eradicated from the drives, and the machines are basically reinstalled from scratch. So
I'm
there
going to ask you to summarize, please.
okay, well, the summary is that, we hope that this bill does proceed forward. If you decide to defer the bill, ultimately what that means is that the status quo will persist, that paying for disposal in mass quantities of working equipment will continue to happen, and the people who need the equipment will not get it.
Thank you. Next up, we have a testimony from Christine Sakuda, Transform Hawaii Government, in support. And that's all the testifiers I believe we have on this measure. Members, open to questions. If not, I have one question for Mr. Kropar. In your testimony, Mr. Kropar, you mentioned that statewide you have the potential to repurpose over 40,000 computers a year. This measure confines or proposes confining this program to Oahu. How many computers would you estimate would be available for repurposing on Oahu alone?
Actually, the number that we have submitted as testimony, 40,000, is a conservative value, even for just Oahu. The original estimates that we are looking at are probably closer to 100,000 machines a year on just the island here. I mean, I could go over the numbers with you to give you an idea, but it's a large number.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Sure.
Last call for questions. I'm sorry, Representative LeCoy.
Just to follow up on that question.
Sure.
Is there a cost when you repurpose the refurbished computers?
The cost from us?
Yeah.
Well, most of the equipment that we do get in for refurbishing as donated equipment, a lot of it, especially even from the state, the hard drives have been pulled out before they give them to us. So a lot of times there's either existing damage to the machine, the hard drives are pulled out, memory's been pulled out. And so we spend a lot of money buying parts to get the equipment back up and running again. And so that was the provision for allowing $50 per machine for the cost recovery. We average about, in the grand scheme of things, we average about $45 per machine in costs for the process of refurbishing the computers.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. No other questions? We'll recess for decision. The committee for decision making on SB 589. The recommendation of the chair will be to move this forward with a House amendment. I recognize the strong feelings on all parties involved in this measure. I think it's important to remember that this Kaka'ako campus was originally developed as a Kaka'ako Health and Wellness Campus comprised of both the Cancer Center and JABSM. And this was intended to be a place of healing as well as an economic driver in the field of biotech for the state of Hawaii, which is why the people of Hawaii invested almost $500 million in these two facilities. So bearing that in mind, I will suggest changing the purpose section to more accurately reflect the contents of the bill, which includes a removal of a reference to there being an administrative affiliation between JABSM and the Cancer Center, because the use of that term is unclear. Secondly, I propose the measure make clear that the line of authority is for both the Cancer Center Director and the JABSM Dean to report directly to the Provost of UH Manoa. Furthermore, we will charge the Provost with the authority and require him to develop and implement a plan to improve efficiencies and reduce redundancies in operations at the Kaka'ako campus and report to the 2023 legislature on its progress. Finally, to ensure that this plan is done expeditiously and effectively, we will remove the sunset date on the UH President's Procurement Authority, which was otherwise set to expire in June of this year. Members, any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair, for the vote.
Members voting on SB 589 with amendments, Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Baladi.
Aye.
Representative Ganadin.
Aye.
Representative Gates.
Aye.
Representative Hashimoto.
Aye.
Representative Capella.
Aye.
Representative Ono. Representative Quindon.
Aye.
Representative Woodson.
Aye.
Representative Yamani. Representative Okimoto. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. On the second bill, SB 913, I know there are still concerns about the workability of this bill. I do want to move this forward to keep it alive. And so I'll suggest the House draft, which keeps this program to Oahu only. Add in House provisions that we passed earlier, providing for dates and penalties for this program. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 913 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye, recognizing all members here. Any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. We're adjourned.